Hello, world, and welcome to a very special episode of Watching Mental Health. I'm very excited today to have my guest and really close personal friend, Danny Ballard, share with us his lived experience, his personal experience with mental health. He has had quite a journey, and so I wanted to make this a special episode where we're not cutting time short. So that's why we are not in the 30-minute live show that I normally have. But I think this is going to be a really great addition to the podcast. And with that, I'm really excited to bring on Danny. I'm going to talk a little bit. I'm going to do a short bio, and then I'm going to ask you to tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Alrighty.
So Danny Ballard founded, is it Triad?
Triad, yes. Triad Custom Web Designs.
We founded Triad Custom Web Designs in High Point, North Carolina in 1998 after interning as a webmaster in college in McPherson, Kansas City, or in Kansas, right?
Yeah, McPherson, Kansas, yeah.
Awesome. And in 2004, you relocated to Texas and rebranded as customwebdesigns.biz before then settling down in Las Vegas in 2010. And I met you just a couple years after that. And that was when around the time that you started Fat Beard Studios. And that's what I knew you as.
Yeah.
But after having a heart attack in 2016 and losing nearly 200 pounds, congratulations, by the way, you rebranded to Dork Night Designs and Marketing, a division of Ballard Designs and Marketing. And so you've been a marketing director for 2 Las Vegas children's charities for nearly 10 years. I know that you're passionate about giving back to the community. You even founded the mental health charity Nerds Never Say Die, and I know that you're working on getting that launched. And so with that, let's just jump right in and talk a little bit more about who you are. Tell me who you are in your own words and anything else you'd like to share.
Sure. I want to go a little backwards. So I started, as you know, Nerds Never Say Die, like literally right before the pandemic. It was terrible, terrible luck. I founded it in February of 2020. And as I started to get the ball rolling, then the pandemic happened. And I felt like, and we'll get into like, my personal experience here in a little bit. But at the time, I felt like I was not recovered. It's kind of like alcoholism is kind of the analogy I make with mental health. There's no cure. I'm convinced of that. You treat it, you live with it. It's a daily thing. But at that period in time, I was at a good stretch. After the heart attack in 2016, I found a new appreciation for life. Because around that time, I was nearly 400 pounds. I was like 385 pounds. I had just gone through a breakup with a girl I'd been with for like 5 years, and I was just not a happy individual. And I started to have the suicidal ideation started to come back, but I never acted on it at that time. And then I had the heart attack, and it was kind of the best thing that ever happened to me in a weird way, because it gave me a new appreciation for life, and it made me want to do better. It made me want to be better. And that's what it took my thick skull to lose weight. Because I'd always, I was the jolly fat beard of Las Vegas. Everybody knew me as Fat Beard. Some people still call me Fat Beard, and probably because sometimes I get lazy and I don't shave. You can see like a little salt and pepper now. But back in my Fat Beard days, I had a biker beard down to here, and I was a big dude. So I started taking my physical fitness seriously, and it took about 2 years. So like in 2018, I had my left hip replaced. And it was a combination of things. I was born with a degenerative joint disease. Thanks, Mom. Her side of the family, anyway. And so I got that hip replaced. And after I recovered from that and was able to like exercise on the daily, it was early 2019, I started dating someone who was really into yoga. So we started doing yoga, and I got down to my personal best in my adult life, which was about 190 pounds. Started buying suits and feeling really great about myself. And it really helped with business. 2019 was the best financial year of my life, and I was riding on such a high over that course of time. So, like, really, the heart attack was kind of the catalyst that started this upward trajectory for me. And unfortunately, it got triggers happen, and I'm not boo-booing. The pandemic affected everyone, but unfortunately, I was starting to have personal issues literally right before the pandemic. I had stepped down in January of 2020. I had stepped down as the marketing director from a charity that I had been with since its inception. I was with them for nearly 8 years. It was very near and dear to my heart. I was very passionate about it. I made several news appearances over I was very ingrained in that charity. I really honestly thought I'd have been with that charity forever. But, I did too good a job, maybe one could argue, as the marketing director. We got very big. And it's now a multi-million-dollar charity. And, with a board of directors, sometimes, all I'm going to say is that the original 5, there's only, last I heard, it's kind of like an ex-girlfriend. I don't check in on them, so I could be wrong. But last I heard, there was only one original member left. I do know for a fact, because I'm still friends with the founder and former president of that charity, that they're no longer, the founder is no longer with that charity. But they still do good work. I still support them. I'm not going to name them, but people who know me know the charity, and they know what I'm talking about. And it's a good, worthwhile charity. But I had to step down. So that was a bummer. So that was in January. So then I started thinking, well, what's a different way I can give back? And I was thinking about, I've had deeply personal struggles with mental health. And we're going to talk about at least my first instance today, I believe, is what we planned on. And I felt at the time I was in a good enough place where maybe that's something I can be passionate about. I can give back to the community by helping people who can't afford mental health care or therapy get it. So I teamed up with a local therapist, and we came up with this idea. Mm-hmm. I don't know how much you want me to say. We may or may not have approached you as well to be a part of it. Mm-hmm. But then the very next month, wham, the world shuts down. And in Vegas, it was so surreal because the Strip was shut. It was like 3 months. It was 2 or 3 months. The entire Las Vegas Strip was shut down. We were all stuck in our homes, and I was already struggling with the relationship I was in at the time, and that was just the kiss of death. It just and so sadly, and I'm very open about this. I do a few different shows on YouTube, Nerd Fights with Salty Trekker and the Geeky Canuck, which is on hiatus right now because of my hip. I actually just had my right hip replaced, so I'm hobbling around on a cane. But it was 4 weeks ago today, as a matter of fact. 4 weeks ago today, I had my right hip replaced. So that show's on hiatus, but it's a lot of fun. When we get back to it, we do things like review Battlestar Galactica and nerdy stuff like that. I also have a show, because I'm a huge wrestling fan, called Dork Side of the Ring. And I just started this show, May Divorce Be With You, with my ex-wife, my second ex-wife, which I've been editing. It's a lot of fun. I can't wait. We're going to premiere it. I kind of want to wait till Monday just because I'm a sucker for like Stan Lee alliteration, like May Divorce Be With You Mondays. Like I want to drop it on Monday, but I should finish editing it. Well, I was going to say tonight, there's a hockey game tonight, isn't there? I'm probably going to watch the hockey game. So I'll probably finish it tomorrow. But on these shows, I've been very open and honest with struggles. One of which was shortly after the pandemic, I'd say the summer of 2020, I had a clean hard break that it took a while for it to happen. It was like we really peeled the Band-Aid off that relationship instead of just ripping it off. And when that happened, I want to say it was May. Yeah, it was mid to late May, like around May 16th, 17th, 18th. I started drinking again. So when I say again, I was always a social drinker, happy-go-lucky. You know, when I did Fat Beard Studios, I did a lot of events, did like Walking Dead viewing parties, rock band karaoke parties, things like that. And I always drank, but I was never what I considered to be, you know, an alcoholic. I never went blackout drunk. I never lost my shit, never started fights, never had any problems. But then due to personal issues and demons, it started right around March of 2020, right around the pandemic. I started drinking, and that became a problem, so I quit. And I, you know, and I threw away 60 days of sobriety because of a woman. This would be a cautionary tale, man. Be stronger, be stronger. And I started drinking again, and in a really bad way, and it really derailed my life, and it started to feed into the depression. And that, I don't know if I want to talk about that story today, because I was really wanting to focus more on the first, you know, sadly, of a few suicide attempts I've had in my life. But if anybody can learn from, you know, what I've been through, then I have no problem sharing this stuff at all. Because most people that know me, you know, I'm a wear my heart on my sleeve kind of guy. To my detriment a lot of the times. But I just rather be honest and open, just because it's easier, especially the older I get, to remember the truth than to remember what lie I had to fabricate to get myself out of looking like a fool. Because, you know what I mean? So I, it's been a rough.
Yeah, I know you had a good. So let's start at the beginning. There's, and whatever you're comfortable with. But I know that you wanted to kind of focus on your first attempt. But even before that, have you had mental health struggles early in your life? Has it been something that plagued you?
No, well, I didn't. Probably, I didn't know because mental health illness is hereditary, and both of my parents have mental health issues. Both of them are on medication. Both of them are doing way better now, but they've got a good 30-year head start on me. And their parents had some issues, but back in the day of like the World War II and the Korean War and things like that, men didn't talk about their mental health. I mean, probably really during the Vietnam, gosh, really, man, men didn't really start owning up, I don't think, until like the early 2000s. Like really, it was really a taboo kind of thing. Sure. And I was born in the late 70s. So my formative years were mid 80s to mid 90s. And, I had a pretty decent childhood, upper middle class family. There were some things. I don't want to cast any aspersions on my father. He's a born again Christian, but I did not have, there were some, my father was also an alcoholic. His father was an alcoholic. And sometimes that just breeds chaos, at the household. And there was a point in time, right around 13, where I just started to kind of hating life. I didn't want to be home. I made any excuse I could to hang out with my best friend, Jason, who I still know to this day. I've known him since I was 8 years old, and I'm thankful to still know him. He's actually serving right now on the USS Teddy Roosevelt. He's a career Navyman, but got called back out because of all this chaos in the world right now. Thanks, Biden. Just kidding. You can edit that out. Anyway, so I probably did, but didn't realize it until until kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back, and what that was. So I was 14. I had just turned 14. This was the Christmas after I turned 14. So this would have been 93, I believe, 1993. And my dad had gone out. Okay. My dad had gone out of town for a business trip, and we'll get back to that in a second. And my brother, because it was my mother, my father, myself, and my brother, My brother was spending time with my uncle, Billy, and my Aunt Diane. So it was just me and my mom. And I've always been a mama's boy. I love my mom. Always had a great relationship with my mother. And it was a period of a little over a week of just my mom and I just hanging out. It was like during Christmas break and all that stuff. And I was out. I used to play street hockey with my buddy Jason a lot. And we'd just, disappear. This was in Thomasville, North Carolina. It was a simpler time in the early 90s, like we could just get in our rollerblades and just literally skate all over Thomasville and wherever we could find a spot that was, whether it was a tennis court, we'd play there until we got kicked out because we're not supposed to be playing there or whatever, things like that. And then, so I got home a little later than I was supposed to. The rule was when the street lights come on, I'm supposed to be home. I might have been about an hour late, but I was also rollerblading all the way from my buddy's house. So it was, and my mom wasn't there, which wasn't a big deal. I'm like, cool. I'm going to throw some wrestling on, blah, 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 make some popcorn and just chill. Cause by that time my dad had done very we were like upper middle class by the time I hit 12, but we really struggled before. Like I remember like the struggles, but my dad started taking his career more seriously, but it also meant he was never home. But then there was also the catch-22 of like, well, I'm kind of glad he's not home because, he used to be home a lot, but then he used to, so I remember I was watching, I was literally watching wrestling, and my dad calls. And this is back, kids, before cell phones. This was a landline, so he calls the house, and I answer the phone. He's like, "Hey, blah blah blah," checking in on me. I'm like, "He's like, where's your mother?" I was like, "I don't know." And again, this is before cell phones, so he can't call her. We have no idea. I'm like, she's probably out shopping, doing her thing. It's Christmas time. Blah blah blah. So he's like, "All right." So then a few hours go by, and he calls again. She's still not there. Again, I'm a kid. I'm like 14 years old. I'm actually kind of digging it. Hindsight being 2020 at the time, I would have invited because I was actually dating the woman who would become my second ex-wife at the time, Stacy. I would have invited her over, and we would have been in all kinds of trouble, because I was there at the house for several hours, and so my dad decided to call the police. Now Thomasville's a really small town. And one of those towns where like practically everybody knows everybody. And so he called, I don't know if it was a buddy of his or what, but a couple police officers, so he tells me, so he calls me back. He's like, "Hey, I got a couple police officers going to come over to the house. They're just going to hang out with you until your mom gets home." I was like, oh, okay. I didn't know that was,
okay.
Yeah, I didn't know that was a thing, but okay. So he does that, and they come over, and they were cool. They were, one of them even, shot the shit about wrestling with me. So that was nice. And then my mom got home, and, she had a bunch of shopping bags and stuff with her, and she's talking to the police, and everybody works everything out. And everything seemed really like out of a Hallmark movie moment or Norman Rockwell picture. Everybody was like super cool. They're like, "Okay, well, hey, give Dale a call. He's worried about you." "Okay, thanks for stopping by." And they leave. And then, so my mom calls my dad at the hotel from her bedroom. And I couldn't hear the conversation, but I know it wasn't good because I could hear yelling. You know what I mean? And my mom gets out, and and we talk, and I'm like, is everything okay? He's like, "Where were you?" She's like, "Oh, I was, just shopping, hanging out, blah, blah, blah." I would later find out that wasn't entirely true, but that's fine. And then, then I go to bed. So the next morning, I get woke up by a phone call. So back in in 93, I had a phone in my room with probably a 30-foot cord. So I could, walk all over. Yeah. And back then, I was kind of, I got a phone call from a girl I had been dating before Stacy.
Okay.
And it was not a pleasant phone call. And basically letting me know, she's like, it was like, this is high school drama bullshit, just dating one of my friends or whatever, fuck it, whatever, hang up the phone. walk out of the bedroom, and like I start noticing things are missing. And so like we had a split level house. So the bedrooms were like on the top level. And then you go down the stairs into like the middle area where like the dining room, kitchen, and a den was. And then there was a lower level with like the living room and another bedroom and bathroom and washroom and the laundry room and things like that. And so I noticed that like when I came out of my bedroom, the like a table at the end of the hallway that was there was not there. I was like, so then I walk downstairs like to go to the kitchen, and I'm noticing like lots of shit's gone now. Like, and I'm thinking, oh my God, we've been robbed. So I run upstairs and start beating on my mom's bedroom door. She didn't answer. I open it, and that bedroom is practically empty. And I was like, yeah. So I'm freaking out. I think we've been robbed. Yeah. Maybe my mother's been kidnapped. Like, I'm just like, I'm just going to like all. Yeah. And then, so I call my dad at the hotel. And I'm like, oh my God, yeah. And then I see mom pull up, and I'm like, oh God, okay, I'll call you back. Click, and because my mom was driving a minivan at the time, and so while I'd been sleeping, she had been moving out. She had finally gotten tired of my dad's stuff because the work trip he was on was a ski trip with a mistress, you know what I mean, or whatever. And she knew about it, and they got into this huge fight over it. That's what the fight was about. And so she told me she was leaving my dad. And then I was like, great, take me with you. I'll start packing my stuff. And she's like, I can't. I was like, well, why not? She's like, well, I'm moving in with this guy. Because, what's good for the goose is good for the gander, apparently. So she found out he was cheating on her, so she started cheating on him, I guess, Yeah, you can't make this shit up. So anyway, so then, but he didn't want any kids. And I'm like, I'm 14. I'll be a man soon. Take me. And cause she'd planned on coming back to get a last trip, and this had gone so poorly, and she didn't expect me to be awake that she drove off. Like she gets back into the car, locks the car. I'm trying to get into the car. She's backing out of the driveway, and I'm still like holding on to the car, like running with her. And then she drives off down Ferndale Avenue, and I'm running as fast as I can until I just collapse, and I see her drive off. And I was just like, I was a sobbing mess in the middle of the road. And I don't know how long I was laying there crying, but I finally got up and I walked back home. Again, this is a very small community. I lived, I knew everybody on my street. Yeah. It's not like Vegas. All us neighbors knew each other, everybody, they were all homeowners. They were, we all partied together, whether it was like because we had a swimming pool, so Dad would throw like barbecue pool parties, and we'd have our neighbors over, and the neighbors across the street. Yeah, so people are seeing this shit. Yeah. And so I go back to the house, and I was just terrified of the thought of life without my mom. I was terrified of the thought of being stuck with just my dad. And I felt like I thought, and I know it's not true. It's just how at the time I thought that nobody loved me. I like the one person that's supposed to never leave me. My, your mother
drove down the road. Yeah,
who I was very close with. So when I walked into the house, I went through the side door, which goes into the kitchen. I walked straight to the medicine cabinet, and I'm not even kidding. I literally ate every single pill. I drank every bottle of medication. I took everything in that medicine cabinet with the intent of killing myself. And I don't know how much time had passed. I remember I was sitting at the kitchen table, and then so I was sitting at the kitchen table. The next thing I remember, I'm waking up at the hospital with my parents standing over me, arguing with each other.
Of course, yeah.
Over whose fault this was. That's what I woke up to. So I would later find out, and this made me that kid, which really sucked, because I was a relatively popular kid at my school, at Thomasville High School. You know, I've always been really outgoing, always into like debate, theater. I was an anchor for what they called TMS, which was like they were a Channel 1 school. So for those of you who know what that is, it's like Channel 1 would give money to schools, and every morning they'd do like a news broadcast, and you could piggyback off of that with your own news broadcast, kind of like in that Spider-Man. If you've seen the new Spider-Man movies with like Betty Brant and things like that. So it was a lot like that. And it afforded me a lot of amazing opportunities. I got to interview when George Bush came through Thomasville, because they had this thing called the Big Chair. So when he was running for president against Perot and Clinton, he did one of his stops there. And I got to be one of the kids that, you know, got to interview him on the scene and all this other cool stuff. And I was a part of a lot of, mock presidential debate. So the three of us pick a candidate and we would debate on behalf of that candidate. And mine was Ross Perot, to kind of give you an idea of where I was back in the 90s. And so everybody knew me. Like, even if they didn't know me, they'd seen my face on the morning news thing. And so I later found out that what happened was my uncle brought my brother home. They found me on the kitchen floor. They call 911. Ambulance shows up, and apparently this attracted a crowd of people at my house. And they, stretch me to the ambulance and take me away. And then for some reason, the word at school was that I couldn't handle the bad news I got from that ex-girlfriend, and that's. Yeah, and so when I get back to school, everybody's like, oh, like I'd got, and I can relate to this in my recent life. It takes years to build a good reputation. It takes seconds to fucking destroy it and have to start all over again. And this had nothing to do with her, had absolutely nothing to do with her. And so when I woke up from the hospital, I found all that stuff out later, So I woke up and they're arguing, and and I'm having to they did it was like this black tar treatment that they gave me to kind of kill everything. And then later I would find out that because I took so many different kinds of medications, some of them it like basically slowed down. Like if I'd have just taken an entire bottle of like Tylenol or something, I probably would have died, but instead I took like everything in there. And I had to go to I had like some mandatory, I had to go to therapy by myself, and I had to go to therapy with my dad and my brother, and then I had to go to therapy with my mom, like all at different times, like for a while. And then eventually, when the parents finalized their divorce, my dad decided to up and move us to Texas, which sucked. Because, because I had just started, by the time that happened, that would have been about 2-3 months into my sophomore year. I had just started kind of coming back, fixing my reputation at school. Like, you just kind of,
yeah.
You know what I mean? And Stacy and I were actually really serious. Like, the only reason Stacy and I broke up was because I moved. Yeah. To Texas. And then when I came back, she'd that's the reason she's ex-wife number 2, not ex-wife number 1. Because when I came back, it'd been years, and she'd moved on with her life and was dating somebody else, and just the stars never aligned until. That's a whole different discussion. I should write a book about, because Stacy and I have a fascinating relationship. It's a lot of almosts, a lot of near misses, but we've known each other for 30 years. We're still really, really good friends and care for each other deeply. But the joke we always make, which may or may not be a joke, is that if we were still married, one of us would be dead and the other in jail. So that's not good for anybody, especially our kids.
Well, I think that's why your new podcast with her is going to be so good. Like, I'm really excited to listen to that, because you do have such a unique relationship between the two of you, and I think that's going to make a really great conversation.
Yeah, no, I've been editing it a lot, and you have to, when you're editing video, you're rewatching stuff over and over and over and over again. And a couple of my buddies have seen little clips and stuff, and I've gotten nothing but positive feedback. A lot of people think this is going to be awesome, because there's not really anything like it out there, where, because we're literally sitting next to each other talking about, so the first episode's The Witches of Eastwick. So we're reviewing that, and it's fun. I'm thankful. I'm very thankful that she and I are still friends, and I'm very happy for her and her relationship with her boyfriend that she's had for about a year now. I mean, he's perfect for her. I'm not into kayaking and reggae music, so that's yeah, it's good.
So let's back up for a second. I want to talk. So you did that at 14.
Yeah.
It seems like such. It feels like it's so out of left field. Had you thought about suicide before then, or was that kind of like the
honestly
first time you even thought about it?
No, honestly, that was the first time. It was just such. I'd never felt so hopeless. Like, it was the most hopeless I'd ever felt in my life. Like,
like a rock, and then you're I'm out.
Yeah.
So did therapy help?
Oh, yes. Yeah. No, well, okay. Well, the therapy was one-on-one helped. Therapy with my mom, I think we only did like 2 or 3 sessions, and my mom was checked out. And then with my dad and my brother, a part of me, God, I hope my dad never watches this. Part of me thinks my dad was just trying to put on a show or save face or whatever, because he made us like continue that therapy, even though it was just not. I didn't feel like it was going very well, but the therapist, and I don't remember her name, this 30 years ago, but the lady that was one-on-one with me was extremely helpful, because she didn't have me on any medication or anything like that. And I remember she had this crazy thing. I'll never forget this. I wish I could remember her name. She had this optical illusion thing. It was like a cone, like a metallic cone with like a metallic cone top that had like a little frog at the bottom of it that somehow caused the whole hologram of the frog to hover above it. And I remember I thought it was the coolest thing back then. But no, the therapy worked out. And then when we moved, and I honestly, I think it helped my dad too, because when we did move to Texas, to his credit, he was a completely different, like he didn't touch me again. Well, until the last time, and I can get into that. But he put forth an earnest effort to be the best single dad he could, because he realized how miserable Chris, my brother, and I were when he just kind of ripped us away from all of our friends, because we'd been in North Carolina at that point for 8 years, but like as far back as I could.
Parts of your life.
Yeah, I don't remember. Before North Carolina, I was born in Indiana, then we lived in the Houston area, but I don't remember that. I was so young, you know what I mean? Right. So, my earliest childhood memories, save one, are from North Carolina. Mm-hmm. And I established lifelong relationships I still have to this day, whether it be Stacy, whether it be Jason, or other people that, that happened in North Carolina. So he tried to make that time in Arlington, Texas, is where he moved us to. So about 3 months into my sophomore year, I started going to Arlington High School. Now you gotta understand, like Thomasville High School, graduating class of like 50. You go to Arlington High School, graduating class of like 1,200. The school is huge. I went from being somebody who was on the TV screen in every classroom every morning to being a nobody.
From a big fish in a small pond to a tiny fish in a big pond.
Exactly. Yeah. So, but I made a friend there through what they called it, oral interpretation was the class. So I did a lot of National Forensics League, NFL stuff. So I got into speech and debate. I got into humorous interpretation, duet, theater, stuff like that. So that was a good escape for me.
Did your dad stop drinking? You said he tried.
He did.
He tried his father better.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it did. But unfortunately, right around, I want to say right before spring break, he got this job that took him, because the cool thing, so when we first moved up to Arlington, he was working for the official car dealership of the Dallas Cowboys. And he was kind of a big up, he wasn't the top manager, but he was like the second in charge at that place. And so we got to we were going to like Dallas Cowboy games for free all the time. I remember like my first car was a Nissan pickup truck. I only paid $700 for it because, I bought it, for my dad's place. And, yeah, right. And then, but in the spring of, the spring of my, sophomore year, he took this job that, took him all over the country, going to dealerships, teaching their F&I, which stands for finance and insurance, their F&I departments, how to maximize profits. Because so once you buy a car, that's the salesman's job. He sells you the car. You buy the car. Then you go to F&I, and that's where they try to get you to upgrade your warranties, to buy other things, or where they try to talk you into, oh, I only want a 3-year loan. Oh, but you know what? I can get you this lower monthly payment if you do like a 6-year loan. Plus, I can put in this other warranty for you. Blah, blah, blah. It's that kind of thing. So he was really good at that. That's what he had done to make all that money I was talking about earlier. So he took this job and he traveled the country. But well, in doing that, single dad, he left a lot, sometimes a couple weeks at a time, sometimes even longer. And I was 15, and I had already got what they call in Texas a hardship license, because my dad was a single parent, and fortunately, I had already taken driver's ed in North Carolina and had a North Carolina driver's ed certificate, and I'd already had a learner's permit. By the time I had my North Carolina learner's permit before we'd moved to Texas. Yeah. So then because of that, I was able to get an actual driver. I couldn't drive past 9 o'clock unless it was for a job. It had all these restrictions, but I could drive. And so my dad would leave. I was in charge. I had to do all the grocery shop and take care of my brother, take him to and fro. He was an ice skater. He was a very good ice skater. He's very accomplished. He's won several competitions. Never got to meet his dream of going to the Olympics, but that was something that my dad was very serious about, for my brother. And so what
you picked up the slack, though. It's a lot of pressure, I feel like, for you at that age.
And here's what happened. It's not a happy ending. So I started resenting him for being gone all the time. And so then I started hanging out with the wrong people. And you gotta remember, so my dad's leaving me all this money that I'm supposed to be, and this is before, it's not like now where he could just, hey, I need to go to the grocery store. Oh, I'll cash app you, or, whatever, this is, we're talking the mid 90s, it's like almost the dark.
Yeah, go do the right thing.
Yeah. So I'm going to be gone for 3 weeks. Here's $2,000. Make sure that your brother gets to school and he's fed, get, grocery shopping, maybe go to the movies once or twice a week, blah, blah, blah. Well, I was hanging out with the wrong people, and I got into, I got really bad into drugs. And I don't even think I've ever told you this story. It ultimately is what got me kicked out of my house at 15. So I was throwing big parties, getting really out of control. My brother is, we're Irish twins. He's barely younger than me. He's like a year to year and a half younger than me, kind of thing. And so he would always get pissed, because he'd be hungry, and it was like, there's ramen noodles in the cabinets, and that's about it. Yet I'm throwing parties with half naked chicks and mountains of cocaine on the coffee table, and he can't even get a burger. So he ratted me out to my dad. Well, I was such a convincing liar that I had my dad convinced that my brother was just, jealous or whatever. And if he had a problem with it, he should just stay home and he can take care of everything and blah, 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 blah. And what got me caught was, this is a true story, I swear to God. What got me caught was, so my dad in the hallway going toward the bedrooms, he had this decorative mirror thing. So it was like, it looked like it was one big mirror, but it was like in 3 pieces. So it was like kind of Art Deco looking, but it was like mirror. Yeah. Well, we had taken that mirror the night before, my buddy Mike and I had taken that mirror, put it on the coffee table, and that's where me and all of my degenerate friends had, and these friends ranged from my age, 15, to way too old to be hanging out with young kids type of age, and just, doing drugs off this mirror. Well, apparently when we cleaned up, whoever put the mirror back on the wall forgot to clean the fucking mirror. Excuse my language, sorry. Forgot to clean the mirror. And that's how my brother got me. And that's how my dad caught me. And I'll never forget it. I have a picture of it somewhere. I'll never forget it. My brother tells him what's up. My dad walks to the hallway. Turns around and just, bam, just like punches me right in the face, like without any hesitation. First black guy I ever had in my life. Swelled up huge. I looked like the Joker because it brought my side of my mouth up, the next day, and he kicked me out. So I had to get emancipated at 15 over that. And then, and the reason I don't mind talking about it is because actually when I went to college, I got to go around to schools and give kind of like speeches because I've always been like a public speaker kind of guy. And it was through one of my classes also, but public speaking class, I believe. And share that experience as like, hey kids, don't F up like I did, cause it's really bad. You know what I mean? And, right. And yeah, I mean, there was a lack of parental supervision, but I mean, I was also, I had a lot of people fooled because I had to grow up so fast,
And you're a good liar.
Yeah, which is probably what got me into sales a little bit later, but whatever. I'm glad I'm not in that anymore. But so but during this time, so it would be easy for somebody to be like, oh my God, you got emancipated at 15. I literally had a lease in my name. I moved to Oklahoma City, had a lease in my name in an apartment complex at 15. Oklahoma doesn't have a hardship license program, so they wouldn't recognize my hardship license. So I had to wait. So and I skateboarded back then. So I would skateboard to and from school until I turned 16. And then I finally got my license. And I swear to God, I went through probably like 8 cars because I kept, not because I was wrecking them or anything. all I could afford were like cheap $100 to $300 cars, which existed back in the 90s, by the way. I know they don't now, but they did back then. And, I'd drive the thing for a week and then boom, the engine would blow out on it. Okay, nothing I can do about that. I got to save up some money and buy another car. I'm not even kidding. That happened a lot. And it was the first time in my life I got a C. Because the school I went to had a block schedule, and the first class was art. And as I'm sure, well, at least I'm a pretty artistic guy, and there's absolutely no reason in the world I should be getting a C in art. And it was because I slept through it was the first period, and in a block schedule, your class is an hour and a half. And because I had to work to pay my bills because I was emancipated, so go to school, get off school, immediately go to work. After work, go home, do my homework, pass out type of thing. So I slept through all of that first period. And the only reason I got a C instead of getting flunked was because I did so much extra credit stuff for her and tried to explain to her my situation. But I could see how it would be really easy wow, you've already tried to commit suicide. Like were you suicidal at that point in time? And I wasn't actually. Mm-hmm. Which is weird. I mean, I looking back on it, I'm like, I'm surprised. I didn't have suicidal ideations again until my first wife left me.
Okay.
So quite some time. It was always some kind of abandonment. That was something that I learned a lot in therapy. Mm-hmm. Most of my suicidal ideations and my triggers come from abandonment issues. So the first one was when I felt abandoned by my mother. Mm-hmm. The second one was when I felt abandoned by my wife. You know what I mean? So that's a big, for me, and that's something I thought I was over, but as you know, mm-hmm. I had something very similar to that happen again a few years ago. Did the exact same thing to me. So it's not something this is going to be a nut I'm going to try to crack for the rest of my life, I'm sure. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So
yeah. For you, what was that kind of because I know you've had a lot of, you've had a large journey, I think, with mental health, and you've had a few different moments where you've reached, I think, a crisis level. What has been kind of that changing moment or moments, or those, that time where you're able to say, okay, I'm able to get help, or I'm ready to get help, or this is a turning moment for me? And what did that look like and why?
So I'm very thankful and fortunate, extremely grateful for the people in my life, quite frankly, who many of whom I do not deserve, yourself included. I would actually put you in this category. So I remember when, almost said the name, sorry. I remember the last time this happened. Mm-hmm. I, like an idiot, so I had, so my buddy, I'm such a nerd. So my buddy Eric came in from out of town for the first season of Picard.
Okay.
And they got a hotel room at the Rio. He had all these big plans. And the girl I was dating at the time was photographing AVN, so she couldn't actually be with us. But the plan was when she was done at AVN, she was going to come meet us at the sushi place. And then we were going to go to the hotel and watch this premiere, because the premiere was at midnight kind of thing, of Picard season 1. And we're all a bunch of Trek nerds. And I mean, we spent the day like playing Trek trivia, Trek board games, doing dumb shit like that. Yeah, And that particular breakup happened so she meets us at the sushi restaurant, breaks up with me in front of everybody, doesn't even sit down at the table to eat. Just like, apparently she'd been talking to some friends at AVN about our issues that we'd had, and they were just basically like, just cut your losses kind of thing. And she thought it was a good idea to do this in front of people. And I'm kind of an emotional guy, again, mama's boy, all that stuff. And I wasn't drinking. That was at this point in time, because that was a problem in our relationship, was my drinking. So at this point in time, I wasn't drinking. And the sad thing is, I can't remember if this is the first or second time she broke up with me. There were 3 different times this particular person broke up with me. And I took it really hard. Like, we get back to the Rio. I go to the gift shop. I bought a bottle of I believe it was Four Roses. Took it up to the room, and everybody's doing their thing, and I'm just drinking straight out of this bottle. I'm glad that in Vegas you can't get out on the balcony anymore, because I probably would have just fucking flown off the thing. Again, I'm sorry about my language. You can beep it in post. But I remember, and I hate this. This is why social media. This is why your phone should have a breathalyzer. So I did some kind of Instagram post where I was very. I took a picture. Even in my drunken depression state, I was trying to be artistic. So I took this kind of artistic photo of an empty bottle of Four Roses I had just killed. And then I captioned it. I don't even remember what I said, but it was enough to where, like, I literally had over 50 people hit me up, whether it was through direct message on Instagram, whether it was a text message, whether it was through Facebook Messenger, whether it was phone calls. Yeah. And so one of them, the one that really sticks with me, was a guy named Colby, who owns, or owned, because it's unfortunately not around anymore, a comic book shop called Cheeseboy Comics. And he called me and convinced me to, like, first of all, delete the post, which I did, and then talk to me and kind of off the ledge, like, I don't know. And it sucks. I wish I could say, and that's why, I've been, and I haven't even talked to you about this yet, so don't judge me. I've been kind of getting back into my root. I was raised Christian. I was raised Lutheran. And McPherson's a Christian college, and while I was there, I kind of lost my faith. And I had been very atheist, agnostic, whatever you want to call it, for a while. And moments like the one with Colby and kind of these instances where I've let this abandonment issue I seem to have take over my better reasoning and put me in a place where I would do harm to myself. has kind of actually brought me back to God, which I don't want to be a Bible thumper or whatever, but because God's never going to abandon me. And I hate that because I used to talk so much crap, but I've kind of become that person now where I kind of need that, because what would have happened had Colby not called me? I don't know. You know, like, I mean, a lot of other people reached out to me. I believe you did too, actually. I'm fairly certain you did. But you've always been, what I love about you, you're kind of, I don't know if cold is the right word. You're kind of a hard ass. You're a hard ass.
I'm very direct.
Yes. Yeah. But I appreciate that. Yeah. No, but I've always appreciated that. So to answer a long-winded way of answering your question, the people, like, when I felt hopeless and nobody loved me and blah, 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 people seem to come out of the woodworks, be like, you fool, what's wrong with you? You are loved. You're a good dude. You do good things. Everybody messes up. Okay, so that didn't work out. That's not a reason to throw it all away. We are all the sum of our experiences. And I know that this abandonment issue of mine is going to be, I mean, that's the crux. That's to me, that's the key thing that I have to work on.
That's your trigger.
Yes. So that's why this is the longest I've been single in my adult life right now, as we're speaking.
This is helping. And
I do talk to you about that. I do too. And I think, I don't want to enter another relationship again until I feel confident that I'm not going to lose my shit if that relationship doesn't work out. Yeah. So I need, you know what I mean? So that's kind of the phase that I'm in right now, is I'm working on me.
Yeah. Learning to love you.
Yeah. And God, I hate to sound like that guy, but I also, the strength that my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ gives me is also very helpful with that. And I would have punched somebody in the face if they told me a year ago. I would have said something like that. But so I feel so weird saying it, but it's helped me a lot. And because I spend a lot of time by myself now, like a lot. Like I was always, I mean, you've known me a long time. What's the longest I've been single? Like a month? You like to be
with people. You like to be surrounded by people.
Yeah, I'm a social butterfly. I like to be out. Mm-hmm. But right now, with the combination of the hip replacement, I can't drive. I'm at home. I don't live with anybody. I'm kind of, I mean, I got my cat and my dog, so that's helpful. But so it's just a lot of reading, a lot of writing, a lot of these podcasting, a lot of self-reflection, just working on myself. And I don't know, like what about, like, let me ask you, I know that you're interviewing, but like, does one ever really get over that kind of an issue? Or is it just something, like I was saying earlier, I just have to work on it forever and just keep it at bay kind of thing?
Yeah, it's funny you asked me that question, because I ask all of my guests that question, and I kind of know where you land, because you've talked about it really openly today. But yeah, that idea of, can I get over this and, one day move on and not be able to have to do treatment, or am I always going to be working on this? And for me, I'm really somewhere in the middle. I think that mental health is fluid. I think that there are some individuals that are going to be dealing with their mental health condition their entire lives. And I think addiction is a good example of that. Somebody who, unfortunately, is an addict, they're not going to just wake up in 20 years and not be that addict. I know that for a lot of them, they have to take that every day. They have to take that conscious decision.
Well, it's not just, it is. And I don't know if it's necessarily, so I was having a conversation with a friend the other day who still can't believe I'm reading the Bible and all this stuff again. And he was like, are you trying to replace one addiction with another? Are you trying to kick the bottle for Christ? Is that what's happening here, man? That's what it seems like. And I'm like, I thought he was just ribbing me or whatever, but I feel he was being dead serious. Yeah. What do you think about it? Is that something you found?
I think that you have to replace it with something. And so if you're an addict and every day you're used to drinking, when you stop drinking, you need to be doing something else. Otherwise, it's going to be that much more difficult. So for you, it maybe was religion. For my boyfriend, it was the gym.
The gym. I was going to mention that, but I didn't want to. Yeah.
yeah. That's what he said. He's like watching all the Schwarzenegger stuff. I mean, so everyone's got to replace it with something. And I've always said that. You know, it's not going to work. And it's not just about addiction. It's also when it comes to things like just, poor self-development skills, poor ways of talking to yourself. Let's say I wake up every day and I smoke weed, right? And I know that that's not healthy. There's all sorts of things. Let's say I wake up every day and I'm like talking to myself bad. These are all things that you can't just delete. You have to replace.
Oh yeah, you have to work on it. That's so fun. So every morning, forever, it seems like, because of my hip, I would wake up and just knee-jerk reaction. Wasn't a conscious thing I was doing. First words out of my mouth. Oh my God, everything hurts. Wow, God, everything hurts every time. So thankfully. Shout out to Dr. Bradford here in Nevada. I haven't done that for like a week. It's been nice. It's like, and I notice it makes a difference in because that's why a lot of people, and I'm still trying to find a morning routine that works for me. It's funny you bring up Arnold. He's been on this book, press tour lately for his book. And I actually bought his book called Be Useful. I read it while I was in the hospital. It's a great read. It's a really quick read too. You should, when's Jeremy's birthday? I'll get it for him. But anyway, it's a good book. It's not that thick, and it's and Arnold writes in a very conversational way. And the awesome thing is like when I'm reading it, I'm hearing his voice in my head when I read it, which makes it even more enjoyable. Yeah. I totally forgot where I was going with that. But it's important to. Oh, the self-talk thing. So he was talking about in one of these tours or interviews he's doing on his tour, where how important it is to wake up and your first thoughts be that of gratitude and thankfulness. It's like, even if it's as simple as I'm alive. I woke up. It's another so. Yeah, so that's something I am working on. This is new because I'm not kidding, man. I didn't do it on purpose. I woke up every morning for years. Oh my God, everything hurts. Oh, it's like just in pain. And now that I'm not waking up in pain, it's like, wow, this is weird. Yeah. Yeah. And I tell you what, I am also speaking of gratitude, I'm very thankful. How the hell did I not get addicted to painkillers? That's what I want to know. Because I should have been a prime candidate for that shit. But I'm one of these guys, I still have a full thing here. I take one in the morning. And so it's funny. So I was talking to you earlier because I had to do the Thanksgiving shopping. And so when Stacy was dropping me off here to do this interview, when I'm getting out of the car with my cane, I'm kind of grunting a little bit. Nothing, man. I'm just yeah. She's like, do you need to take a pill? I was like, no, I already took one. I'm good. I don't want to cause dude, and maybe it's because I've had the experience with alcoholism or whatever. No way, man. No, if I don't need it, I'm not taking it. You know what I mean? But no, when I wake up in the morning, in the kind of pain I used to wake up in, I would, I'd take one then. But man, they overprescribe. I can take one tablet by mouth as needed every 4 hours. That's insanity. And this is hydromorphone, 4 milligrams. This is heroin, basically. It's ridiculous.
And then I wonder why we're an addicted society.
Yeah. So but I'm actually, I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but I'm just blown away that I don't know what it is about. Why can't I do that with alcohol? Why is alcohol so hard, but pills are so easy? You know what I mean?
Well, I think it's a different kind of high.
Pills don't get me high. That's my thing. I think that's what it is.
What it is. They're doing their job. Why is everyone else wanting to take these? I don't feel anything.
I just feel normal. It's like
that's how I feel with Xanax. when I was in college, everybody would be like, yeah, let's pop Xanax and go drink alcohol. And I was like, what? Like, I don't, Xanax makes me feel regular. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we have a few minutes left. So I want to, of course, get back together. You know, we have, I think, lots more that we can, dive into.
Yeah. I spent most of my time on the first one, dabbled with one of the latter ones, but there are two other instances in my life I'd love to come back and talk to you about. And one involves that my friend Jason Spence. Oops, I didn't mean to dox him. My friend Jason, I was talking about that from North Carolina, because he saved my life, and that was around the time when my first wife left me. So, and I think that one could be very helpful for people to hear, because, I thought I was only going to get married once. I didn't. It wasn't a shotgun wedding. We got married. We were married for a year, and then we had a kid. You know what I mean? And then just the whole thing that goes with that, I think, could be a helpful story to other people. But it all, for me, comes back to that abandonment issue. It really does. The only times, plural, sorry, in my life where I've had suicidal ideations, or actually even acted upon them, dealt with abandonment issues. So.
Well, I just love that you're really, I think, more self-aware these days than even through the 10 years that I've known you, because it's been about 10 years now.
At least,
I feel like you are, you're in a healthier place, and you are more self-aware of what those triggers are. And I like that you're taking the time to protect your heart before, you go out there and let it get trampled again, right?
People don't believe me. And I wouldn't blame you for not, but people don't believe me when I say, I don't TMI. Sorry, guys. This is the longest I've been celibate in my life since I've started having sex. I really don't want to. I just don't. I need to. Gosh, not even just love me, but, and I hate to keep bringing it back to Jesus and the Bible and stuff, but I need to get to a place to where I know that even if, and I know she won't, because my mom and I have an amazing relationship now, and we've forgiven each other and had lots of talks, and I mean that happened 30 years ago. But I need to get to a place to where if I do get into a relationship, and for whatever reason, he, she, it, or whatever at this point in time in our civilization leaves me, I'm not going to lose my shit, because I'm going to be like, well, I love me and God loves me. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. And that's what I'm working on. Yeah. And that might not work for everybody, but there's a reason 12-step programs like AA, which, I attend meetings for. That's why give yourself over to a higher power is one of the rules, folks. It's just you have to at some point. You can't be stubborn. I was stubborn for so long,
Well, that's amazing that you're in AA. Let's end on this. Tell me a little bit more about some of the techniques, the tools that you're using to try and, keep yourself mentally healthy these days. I know you mentioned AA, you mentioned some self-talk, you mentioned therapy before, and religion. Talk to me a little bit more about the specifics of what you're doing to help yourself.
So, reading. I've been doing a lot of reading. So I've found that it's too easy. I don't want to sound like this old man. It's too easy to wake up, get on your phone, and just swipe to the right or whatever, and look at your news feed or go to Twitter or and just look through that. I've been, my mom, in fact, she texted me yesterday about how the book of Daniel is about the second coming of Jesus. Have you read it yet? And blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, Mom, I'm reading the thing in order. And I actually I'm one of those nerds. I got the tabs here. And Daniel's pretty deep. I'm not there yet. That's that's the first part before I even get to Daniel. So Daniel's kind of, you know what I mean? So, But reading these the podcasts that I do, or whatever you want to call them, live streams on YouTube, are a lot of fun. Losing myself in silly things like I used to be. It's so funny. I used to be ashamed. I used to lie about watching wrestling. I'd be like, when people talk about, I don't watch wrestling. What are you talking about? No, I don't. That's stupid. Now I'm like,
I don't do that anymore.
Yeah, no. I'm loud and proud now, man. I'm like, oh yeah, oh my God, did you hear about LA Knight and Roman Reigns? Stuff like that. So, and just Stacy's actually helped me with plant therapy. I don't know if you heard about this. So I have plants now.
Okay.
Never been a plant guy.
Wow.
Now she's starting me out easy. I can't reach it, or I'd show you. So she's giving me this beautiful succulent, and it's really dope. And next time if you ever come visit me in person, I got to show it to you. It's beautiful, but like the only thing I got to do is keep it alive.
Yeah. But
I can't water. It's beat up. I can't water it too much. I can't water it too little. You know what I mean? Because it's a succulent. And then she gave me. I've got an aloe. I got an aloe plant, and then I think she called it a snake plant. So I got 3 plants that, I know this sounds silly, but I'm just going off of her advice, that, I talk to, I try to give love to. Yeah. And I got my animals. I got my Dexter, although, oh my God, I'm going to need you soon, I'm sure, because he turned 18 in October. Yeah.
That's the worst part about having pets.
I know, man. I know.
Them like babies, but they don't allow to be long as babies.
I know, man. But no, he still seems to be doing good. And I got Goku, my cat. I've been really focused on. In fact, there's Dexter moving around right there. I've been really focused on trying to rebuild my business. If I can't get my business back to where it was pre-pandemic, I'm gonna have to I'm gonna have to hit you up to help me polish up my LinkedIn page so I can get a job as a marketing director for somebody who'll actually pay me to do so. But
entrepreneurship is tough. You've been doing it for a long time.
Very, very long time. But I've also, and that's the thing. This is the first time in my life I've been in this position, because I have been self-employed. So a buddy of mine was like, hey, why aren't you getting disability right now? Because you can't work because of the hip. I'm like, well, because I haven't paid a single dime into Social Security, which is probably why when I'm older, I'm not going to get any of that either. Because when you're self-employed, for whatever reason, you got to pay other taxes. You don't pay Social Security tax when you're self-employed. So I've literally have paid nothing in Social Security. That's why I can't pull off like disability or something like that right now, which I'm fine with. I'm able to sit. I'm talking to you. I do the podcast. I get my little super chats and my little sponsorships, and I'm making websites still. SqueakyBreaksLV.com. Anyway, it's my latest site I just launched. So I'm still working. It's just not. I don't have an office anymore. I don't have an assistant anymore. Whatever. Stuff happens. I'm gonna
goes up and down.
That's the least of my. Yeah. Right now, my thing is, and I know you said we only had a few minutes, so I don't want to open up a whole new serious subject. But my whole thing is my kids. I used to be Superman to my kids, and now my kids. I'm not that rock for them anymore, and that is my motivation. That's what's killing me, is that my kids are like, wow, I thought Dad was invincible. I never thought anything would take, I always could rely on Dad, and now Dad's been going through some stuff, and I don't want that to be. I don't know. I'm just hoping I can bounce back further than I fell, for my kids. So,
exactly. Yeah, I mean, we're all human, right? We all fall down, and I think it's admirable that, and and I think it's beautiful, really, that that's where your focus is now, and your kids are always going to love you, and so to be there for them and to be a good dad to them, I think is all they need.
My oldest, I feel terrible. I partially agree with you. My oldest, who just turned 25 the other day, he's always going to love me because he got the best of me. I didn't F up my life until long after he was gone. You know what I mean? And I'm super proud of him. I had to have done a good job. He makes really good. He's had the same job for 9 years, or not the same job, but we worked with the same company for 9 years. He works with autistic children, which is very important to both of us because his younger brother's autistic. So he had a lifetime of experience. That's why he was able to get the job at 16.
Yeah.
And he makes really good money. It's almost criminal. He makes almost as much as his stepmother. But Stacy basically raised him. And she's been teaching for 21 years and has 3 degrees.
Well, that's criminal because it's Nevada.
Yeah, But I'm really proud of him. And I saw him recently for his birthday. And he's a great source of how the tables have turned. He's a great source of inspiration and motivation for me. My 2 youngest, the kids I have with Stacy, they're I gotta earn their respect back. I'm sure they still love me, but my daughter, when I see her, oh, hey, I love you, sweetie. Thank you. That's what I'm getting right now.
Yeah.
So
well,
I gotta.
That is great too.
Yeah, I know she's 14. Right. Whatever, I get it, but I can't help but think a lot of that's on me because even Dorian, who I thought would never give up on me, he's like, Dad, you gotta like. I mean, he has exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah. It's like, come on.
You are, and it takes time, and I know that you will.
Yeah.
And, I'm, as a friend, really grateful for your progress because I don't have to worry about losing you. So I think that it's important to keep doing it. And I'd love to have you back. Like I said, I think we'll have a whole good conversation around maybe family, divorce, and just dive in to however you want to dive in. And I think it'll be really valuable.
No, I think I'd love to come back if you have me back. I think doing more of a deep dive because I felt like I did more of a deep dive on my first attempt would be the second with the first ex-wife, because I think that one could be helpful to because the mother one, I mean, there might be somebody out there listening who's been through something like that, with a parent leaving them, but there's probably a lot of people who haven't, and those people have probably been through something where like their wife or husband left them. You know what I mean? So it's two, but at the core of it is an abandonment issue. Right.
Right.
So
yeah. Well, I think that's wonderful. Again, I'm excited to have you back. We're going to do another, I think, special episode so we can deep dive and really, kind of talk about this stuff and without stigma. And, that's what this show's all about. So I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you spilling yourself. I know it can be hard for some people too.
For some people, for me, I like, look, man, what you see is what you get, like warts and all, whether, love me or hate me, and the joke I think you've heard me make it. I make a great first impression. It's that 4th or 5th one that usually ends up killing my relationships with people. So
that's the whole reputation thing. Yeah. Maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah. All right. So definitely we'll do this again. Thank you again. For anybody out there, check out KatieRoseWechter.com to see all my episodes, my YouTube channel. So subscribe to Danny's YouTube channel. I know that you have a lot going on YouTube. Tell the folks how we can follow you, and then we'll wrap it up.
At Dork Night LV on pretty much everything. That's DORKKNIGHTLV. I believe I even have the domain name. But no, I'm mostly, I hate Facebook. I have it only for business purposes, rarely on it. Twitter or X. That's so weird.
Whatever.
Yeah. It's like, but you know what's funny? It's like X, but it's still twitter.com. Get rid of that. Anyway, Twitter's the one I'm most active on. Twitter and Discord. But that's a whole other server. It'd be too complicated. So hit me at DorkNightLV on Twitter or youtube.com/@DorkNightLV. Probably the best ways to interact with me online. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks again. And we will see you next time here on Watching Mental Health.